Welcome so much, everybody. I'm Kim Eldredge from New Frontier Books, and I want to welcome you to this presentation of the 5 mental monsters that are keeping you stuck, the ones that are preventing you from being able to write your book. So I kind of have this dual thing going on. I've got Zoom going on this camera up here and a Facebook Live going on the camera down below, because why not? It's a beautiful day, and this is my message that I'm here to share. So you're here because you have come to me from one of the summits that I've spoken on recently, and I've been speaking about limiting beliefs. I've got to tell you though, I really, really hate that title. That I don't find it to be original. I find it to be, well, limiting. So here's the real thing is, writers come to the table with a lot of preconceived notions about how life is, right? That there's this starving artist mentality. I was just on the phone this morning with a young man. He's 17. He's starting his writing journey, who, guess what? He has that belief that in order to be a writer, you have to have this starving artist mentality. Oh, another one that that writers face a lot, and I think it's very unique to this industry, is the idea that writing has to take a lot of time. Not like hours in a day, but like decades. Like you have to suffer. You have to be poor. You have to work on your opus for months or years or decades. And the other limiting belief that I see a lot of times specifically with writers is around creativity. That there has to be all of this process in order to bring forth a book. I've got to tell you though, I believed this too. I honestly believed this too. When I got started with writing, I subscribed to all of these ideas that said that you were never ever going to make money, that was impossible to make money, that I should want to be broke. I subscribed to the limiting belief that it would be years and years and years before I would be a successful author. And I subscribed to the belief that said that I had to do this very specific process to get you in the flow to be creative. So take a deep breath, because today we're going to talk about mental monsters. And, we're going to be looking at some of these beliefs that we hold that are preventing us from finally writing our book and from sharing our message. I have to tell you though, I have a degree in creative writing from the University of Arizona, and seeking this degree reinforced some of these cultural stereotypes of starving artists, of writing should be long, arduous, and it should be painful. You're not doing it right unless you're sitting down at the keyboard and bleeding. And that, you had to have this very specific creative process. And so I get my degree from the University of Arizona. I'm studying creative writing. And I'm believing this doctrine. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. And then somebody asked me, what if it isn't the truth? What if these things that we're holding that are keeping us stuck, that are keeping us back, what if it's not the truth? What if this is something that we've made up? This was a revelation to me. What if these cultural writing norms that I had been absorbing through TV, through Writer's Digest, through my freaking creative writing degree, what if that wasn't the truth? So for the time that we are together, I want you to step into that space of possibility, and I want you to ask yourself, what if these things I've been believing, what if they're not the truth? You're here today because you have a message to share. You have something that you want to bring forth into the world. And as you get to know me better, you'll know that I never, ever, ever use the pregnant with a book metaphor. I never, ever use it. But I do understand when you've been percolating on a message and it's time to be bringing that forth into the light. Okay? And I know that you have done, based on how you got here through these telesummits that I've been speaking on, through the marketing messages that I personally put out, I absolutely know that you've done a lot of this inner game work. You're not starting from scratch. So before we dive any further into anything, I just want to take a moment and acknowledge the ground that you've really already taken. You have already taken steps to get rid of your mental monsters. So let's look at how we can reduce them even more so you can finally write your book, so you can finally share your message. So what we're going to do today is we're going to identify which of those mental monsters are getting you tripped up. Yes, there are really only 5. Every one of whatever's going on in your head falls down into one of those 5 categories. So there's really only 5 monsters. They masquerade. You might be plagued with more than one, but at the end of the day, there's 5 mental monsters. So that's what we're really, really going to talk about. I want to get you some monster spray. I want to inoculate you against the crap that goes on in your head that is preventing you from sharing your message. It's preventing you from finally writing your book. In a larger extent, this can be preventing you from stepping out there and doing the work that you're meant to do in the world. It can be preventing you from doing your business. It can be preventing you from what's going on. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Now, I offer through all of my different programs exactly one thing. I help people to identify and share their message. Period. Full stop. That's what everything that I offer leads to. Your ability to get out there in the world, to share your message, to change lives. Okay? So it's not, that's what it boils down to. It's so nothing fancy. And this mindset stuff that we're talking about today will be one of those things that you need to know to be able to share your message. But I've got to tell you flat out, mindset's only going to take you so far. Now, I'm not selling on this training today. This is just a give. I will show you, if you'd like to get more information, how to get more information, but there will not be an offer for you to open your wallet on this training today. Okay, so deep breath, you're just fine. But I have to flat out tell you that the mindset stuff we're going to be talking about today is only going to take you so far. You need a practical system to be able to meet your goals, to set those goals, to write your book, to share that message. We have chosen books as the vehicle with which to use. And I'm starting here with this mindset piece because if you don't handle this, one of 2 things is going to happen. Either you won't be able to get started at all. You'll be able to dream about it, but you won't be able to put words on paper. Or, this is actually more common, you'll have this fit of inspiration and you'll be able to write for a while. A client that I was just talking with, what's today, Thursday? On Tuesday, as a matter of fact, was thanking me because she has been working on her project for about a decade, but by working on it, she was very honest and admitted that what she was doing was thinking about it. And when she would work on it, she would never get more than 2 or 3 or 4 pages down the road. Ever. And so by focusing in on some of this mindset stuff, that was able to get her into motion. But then the practical system that goes beyond this, which I'm barely going to touch on today, is what was able to take her into her book's like 70% done. Okay? But it starts here. And if you're not getting triggered on the mindset stuff yet, you will. You will. So I want to give you this monster spray flat out. Before we end today, I am going to show you how we can work together a little bit more closely if you want to, but please understand there's no offer here. It's still just a give. So if you haven't been taking notes yet, now is your moment. Let's talk about the mental monsters that are keeping you stuck. Number one, this guy says a book must be huge. When this mental monster shows up, it says that you can't write a book, you're not worth it, unless you're writing hundreds and hundreds of pages. This guy says that your project has to be all-consuming. This guy says that you're not a real writer. You have nothing real to say if you can't do it in 300 words. This guy says that he goes directly against what I teach with the one book, one topic. This guy says you have to keep going and going and going, and your book has to be all things to all people. That's a mental monster. So for example, one of my books is very specific. I have piles everywhere on my desk. I'm in the middle of a major rearranging in here. One of my books is about how to catch trout. It's not the be-all, end-all for fishing. All I talk about is trout. More specific than that, all I talk about is how to catch trout in small alpine lakes that are usually stocked by game and fish. So I'm not talking about any other fish. I'm not talking about fly fishing. It's a very specific topic. You don't do your readers a service at all when you're out there trying to be everything to everybody. Your book doesn't have to be huge. It needs to be impactful. So right now, when you're sitting here and you're thinking, I have all of this work to do. I have so far that I have to go, from 3 or 4 words on a page to that ending point way out there in the future that you can't even see. I want you to take this mental monster and realize that he's lying to you. Your book doesn't have to be huge. It has to be targeted. Okay? Nobody will read it. This mental monster says that once you write your book and you have it published, it will sit quietly on a shelf and die a slow, painful death. This monster says, who cares? Nobody cares about you. You have nothing of value to offer. It's not the truth. It's not the truth. This monster also masquerades as my genre or my category isn't big enough. That there aren't enough people out there who would even potentially want to read my book. And that's not the truth either. It doesn't matter how big or small what you think your potential audience is. What really, really matters is your passion, your desire to share your message. Okay, so case in point, I've got 2 clients. The first client writes in the business sector, okay? How to network, How many business owners need to know how to network? All of them. How many salespeople need to know how to network? All of them. So it's really easy to see that a business book about networking has a wide audience, right? Of course. But what if you're not a business owner? What if you're not in sales? There are people out there who don't actually need to know how to network. It's not a skill that they absolutely have to have. My mom just retired from a highly successful teaching degree. She needed people skills. She needed to know how to interact with her students and with their parents and with administration and with her coworkers. Those are people skills. This book was about networking, which means that people like my mom would never have been a good fit. But there are lots of people who need to know how to network. So let's compare and contrast this to another one of my clients, John Haidt. He wrote a book about underground homes, a very specific type of building structure with underground homes, as a matter of fact. So he isn't serving the whole world. He's got a teeny weeny narrow niche, right? Guess what? This monster lied to both of those authors when it said nobody would read it. Does Biba's book about networking reach the whole world? No, it really doesn't. Does John's about underground homes reach the whole world? Even fewer. But here's the thing. Both of these books are really successful. They sell copies and they reach the people that they are meant to reach. So if your mental monster is coming in that nobody's going to read it, they're wrong. Somebody out there is looking for what you have to share. Now, try this thought on for size. What happens to that person if you don't share your message? Mental monster number 3. I think this guy's just adorable. A book isn't worth my investment. A book isn't worth my time, my creativity, my money that I put in towards creating it. I'm going to invest and there will be no return on my investment. I might as well not even bother. Take a deep breath. I love this monster because it masquerades as something practical. It masquerades as something very easy to believe is reality. Because you're talking about time and money, both of which are tangible things. You know, you can hold money, you can see time moving on a clock. But it's still a mental monster. It's still a mental monster. Why? Because, well, clearly, as we've already illustrated, there are people out there who still want what you have to write. But what the problem with this mental monster is, it misses the root of what this fear really is. And that fear says that I'm going to do this because I want to, and nothing will happen. I won't reach the lives that I'm meant to reach. Well, I always tell people that books transform lives. Period. They do. They make a difference in people's lives. But you're missing something here. The very first life that your book will change is your own, if you let it. The very first life your book will change is your own, because you're a different person through writing it. Not just through your own internal processing and figuring out your topic, your message, but think about what it's like to be looking at this big project, and then you get started, and then you keep going, and then you finish it. how many times in your life do you honestly get to say that? Probably not real often. So of course, anytime you can complete that book, of course it's worth it. You're changing your own life. So let's look straight up at the money portion, because there's these myths that are out there that say that we can't make money directly from book sales. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Are you likely to replace your income off of writing one book? No, you're not. Are you likely to replace your income off of writing hundreds of books? Okay, that's a get rich quick with Amazon, and that ship has sailed. But can you directly make money from selling a book? Yes, you can. You can, and I do it. Most of the people that I work with work in the nonfiction space, and lots of us not only want to have this book to share this message, but we also work with clients at a much higher rate than a $10 or $15 or $20 book. So maybe you're selling your books and you're making that direct money, but there's also the indirect money that comes from your books when somebody sees you and then they want to book you on a stage, they want to buy something from you. All of that is completely possible. That's the power of books. Hang on just a second. Your book is going to be worth it. When you look at the time that you're investing in writing a book, let's be really honest. This is a time investment, right? I don't believe that writing a book needs to take years. I don't believe that it has to be at that level, but I also don't think that you can write your book in 2 days where they start with an S and they end with a Y, and they're called a weekend, okay? There is a time investment. Let's just be really honest about that. But is it worth the time? Yes, it's always worth the time. It's worth the time to structure your thoughts. It's worth the time to share your message. So this little guy that says, you know, writing your book isn't worth it, it's not worth the time and money you invest, it is worth it. You become a different person. And you have that ability to share your message with other people because you're writing that book. The other practical mental monster that shows up is this guy. And he says, I don't know what to do with the book once it's written. So this is all of those post-writing practical things that keep you stuck. Believe it or not, this monster shows up right from the very beginning. And he is worried about things like publishing or marketing or editing or copyright or ISBN or self-publishing versus traditional or he has lots of different faces. He's still a mental monster. So take a deep breath with me. The I don't know what to do once it's written. This one was my personal demon when I got started. You know, I have a degree in creative writing. I thought I knew at the time what it took to write a book. I was worried that nobody would read it, but mostly I was worried that nobody would read it because it would stay locked here on my computer or printed out and safe here in my file drawer. I was worried that nobody would read it because I was worried I didn't know what to do with it once it was done. What did editing look like? What were all the pieces that a book had to have beyond that middle part called the manuscript? You know, the intro, but on and on and on. This mental monster appears so logical. And he whispers, you need to have this all figured out before you start. Let's address this one head on, okay? First off, you need to remember that you are not the first person who is walking the path with writing, editing, and publishing a book, and then launching it. You're not inventing a wheel here, okay? You're not starting from scratch. You're not the first person ever to have done this, which means that the answers that you seek are out there. But what this mental monster says is, ram, ram, ram. We have to have these answers now, okay? So I want you to remember that, number one, your answers are out there. For whatever after question comes, they're out there. And number two, I want to give you a really bit of practical advice for dealing with this mental monster. Because if you're like me, I couldn't move forward until it wasn't enough to know that those answers were out there. I had to have a few of them. Here's what you're going to do. You are going to pick your top what comes next question. Maybe that's around editing or publishing or an ISBN number. The one that you're not lying to yourself that says, okay, if I just had some closure on this question, I could table all the rest of them, just put them on a shelf, and I could get back to writing. One question. I don't want you sliding down a rabbit hole, okay? Step number one, find that question. Step number two, set a timer. 15 minutes, okay? We're not going crazy on this one. I want you to set a timer for 15 minutes. Then go nuts. Go to Google, follow the rabbit hole, figure out everything you can about whatever that question is in the 15 minutes that I've given you. When your alarm goes off, stop. Stop researching. Stop freaking yourself out. Here's what you will discover. Conflicting information, but you'll find information. No matter what is out there that's got you all twisted, you will find that answers exist. And that's the point of this exercise around this mental monster. You do not need to have all of the answers, because 100% of these answers do not matter until your book is written. One of the ones that got me tripped up very specifically here was writing an index for my cookbook. Guess what? You cannot index pages if the pages don't exist. Well, how do I do cover design for my book? Guess what? You don't need a cover if you don't have a book to publish. How do I find an editor for my book? Guess what? You don't need an editor if you don't have words on the page. There's nothing for your editor to work on. How do I get an ISBN? Do you see where I'm going with this? Now, there is one little nuance on this guy. I don't know what to do with it once it's written. Okay, that's at the end. What if yours is, I don't know how to start? I don't know how to start. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Believe it or not, that isn't actually one of the mental monsters that keeps people stuck. Everybody understands how to start. You put words on a page. I'm not saying that that's the best starting place in the whole book writing system. In fact, it's not actually the beginning. But writing a book it's not that monumental. You take your thoughts, you put them as words on a page. It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. And those mentors that are out there that tell you to audio record your book and then have that transcribed, at some point those words have to hit the page. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, a transcript does not a book make. Which means that that transcript, even though there are words on the page, it doesn't end there. And then guess what? What happens next? Shows up. Okay? So I don't know how to get started, that's a different question. It's not a mental monster. You do know how to get started. And then there's this guy. This guy has the most forms. This guy is kind of the undercurrent that runs through every single other monster. And what he says is, who am I? Who am I to write this book? Who am I to claim this place as an expert? Who am I to share this message? Who am I to do this? He says, I'm not worthy. You're not worthy. This is the reason that you think that nobody will read your book. This is the reason that you think that you don't have what it takes to write a whole book. Remember monster number 1 that says that book must be huge? Who am I? Who are you not to? I believe that we are all the sum total of our thoughts, our experiences, our trainings, our belief, the classes and the books that we have read, the experiences that we have shaped us. We're the sum total of everything that makes us who we are. It's that unique soul-based fingerprint. So no matter how many people are out there writing in your space, you are the only one who is you. So even though there are other people writing in your genre, there's only one view that you bring to the world, yours. Now, let me drop some truth on you. There is somebody out there that needs your specific message. They need you, and they need you desperately. Everyone else in your marketplace, your genre, your niche, your whatever term you want to use there, they become a pale comparison for you. And it doesn't matter to this person who needs you if those other people in your space are more famous. No more, it doesn't matter. They need you. And so when this mental monster says, well, who are you to write it? Who are you not to? There's somebody out there who's been praying for your message. Who are you to keep your message from them? When I wrapped my head around this one, it was painful. Because I realized that by not sharing my messages, I was directly impacting somebody in a negative way. Whoa. Whoa. Okay, so let's be real honest. I don't write about saving marriages or ending world hunger or those big, heavy-weighted topics that you kind of think of when I talk about this mental monster. That's not at all what I write about. One of my most popular books, my most popular book, is called Scary and Silly Campfire Stories, 15 Tales for Shivers and Giggles. It's a children's book, 3rd to 5th grade. It's 15. It's a slender volume. It's 15 campfire stories. Half are scary, half are not. And so it's real easy to say, well, who needs that? Who is out there in pain needing a retelling of an urban legend, right? Well, remember when I said that, books change lives and you never know which lives that they change? Sometimes you do get to know. When I was dating Ben, my now husband, we hadn't been dating that long. And it was in the spring, school had just let out, and we were at McDonald's for an ice cream date. We had a lot of dates at McDonald's. And so we're sitting there eating our ice cream, talking, and this little girl comes running up to me. You're Kim Eldredge, you're Kim Eldredge, you're Kim Eldredge. And I'm going, yes. Okay, who are you, sweetie? She had just completed 4th grade at the local elementary school. And at our schools, we run what's called the Million Word Reading Challenge, which invites all students from K to 12 to read 1 million words or more during the course of a school year. And they have to be at their grade level. They have to be at their grade level. And then to take a test that proves reading comprehension. It's a really cool thing. Okay, and then if you read 1,000,000 words or more, there's all these prizes. Well, this little girl had just completed 4th grade, and she shared with me that she had read 836,000 words that year. When she was a 3rd grader, she had barely broken 200,000. Whoa, that's a massive jump, right? But here's the thing. Early in the school year, she had found my book, and she had read it. And I had been in and out of the elementary school campus, so she was able to put a face of an author to the book that she was reading. And she realized that that book had been crafted by a real, living, and breathing human being. She realized that all books had been crafted that way. And this turned on a light bulb for this little girl. Books were the love letters from the authors to the readers. And there were all these people out here who were writing her love letters, and she got to read them. My little book about campfire stories awakened a love of reading in this little girl. Whoa. Nobody has a crystal ball, but think forward onto her life path. You're here because you're an author and you love writing, and so therefore you love reading. Imagine how your life would have been different if you had never gotten that love. My little book solved a pain that neither one of us knew that that girl had. She needed the love of reading, and my book was the vehicle to it. So who are you to write your book? Who are you not to? Now, I'm going to do an exercise, because who am I goes hand in hand with your inner critic. So take a deep breath. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to imagine what your inner critic looks like. So for me, this is a short, balding, middle-aged, fat white man with a greasy comb over. And he, his hair's combed over, and he's wearing ugly brown pants and a wife beater with suspenders. And he has food dribbled down the front of his dirty white wife beater t-shirt and a big stinking cigar. And he's greasy and he's smelly and he's foul. And he shows up and he goes, "Kim, who are you to write this book? You are unworthy. You have no message to share. You have no business being here." So I want you to imagine, what does your inner critic look like? What does he smell like? What's his voice sound like? And I want you to imagine that you're getting right up in his face, and you're taking your finger, and you've got this right angle thing going on. You get right up in there and you tell him, "Shove off." You poke him in the chest. And I want you to get right into that inner critic's face, and I want you to tell him where to shove it. And I want you to use this as much adult language as you would like to use. Okay? And anytime this inner critic shows up, I want you to do this. And what you're going to find is that you will find him faster before he has started to undermine your self-esteem, undermine yourself. You'll be able to find him faster, and you'll be able to get rid of him quicker. Can I guarantee he will never ever show back up again? No. For me, he really doesn't show back up again in my writing. He shows up in other areas of my life and business. And I use the same exercise. Will you be able to get rid of this for good, for once and for all? Of course not. We're human. But it works for now. There are 2 types of dream killers in your world. There are your internal dream killers, these guys, and then there are your external dream killers. They're your friends and family who tell you not unpleasant things. And I hope that you don't have many in your life. I hope that everybody in your life believes in you and tells you that. I believe in you. We can't do anything about the external dream killers. We can't do anything about those hopefully well-meaning people who tell you that you're being ridiculous, they're not supporting you, they don't want to support your dreams. And maybe that looks like a couple of young writers that I've been speaking to recently who want to make the investment and nobody will support them financially because they don't believe in their writing. It's horrible. Maybe it will look like your well-meaning spouse who's going, why are you always playing around at this? Or a sibling. We can't control the external dream killers. You bless them with love and you attempt to move on. Your internal dream killers, however, those we have power over. Now, before we do our next exercise, I want to just share something really important with you. Okay? I believe in you. I believe in your message. I believe it has the power to change the world. I believe it has the power to change your world. I believe that you do have what it takes to write it. Period. You've got this. I'm willing to work with anybody as long as they have the passion. I can't help you if I'm the one carrying all the passion, okay? But people come to me and they pitch me their ideas, and if they have that passion, that I'm excited too. People come to me and they say, well, what do I think? Well, I think you can do it. I've already illustrated like size of what you think your target market, dude, it so doesn't matter, okay? I believe in you, and I'm not saying that as lip service. I'm saying that from my soul to yours, as if we were sitting across the table. You got this, okay? And I want to show you a little bit more of what this looks like. Just take a deep breath. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine that you're walking into your favorite bookstore. And you open that door, and you're hit with that smell. That new book smell. It's the same whether you walk into a bookstore here, there, or anywhere around the world. I want you to feel the air wrapping around you. The feeling of the air conditioner, the smell of the pages, that smell and sound that is so uniquely bookstore, and it's so different than library. And as you're walking through the bookstore, I want you to go over to the section where your book would live. And I want you to imagine yourself reaching out a finger and running it along the shelf, looking at all of the titles of the books looking back at you. And I want you to pause and reach out one finger and hook out a book. And I want you to hold it in your hands. I want you to feel the weight of it. Feel the denseness of the pages. Feel the binding in your hands. And as you're staring down at this book, I want you to realize that's your name on the cover. You're holding your book. And as you're having this quiet moment in the bookstore, holding your book, standing here surrounded by the smell of books and the sound of book lovers, that buzz of the fluorescent lights, I want you to imagine somebody walking out. And this lady reaches over and she taps the book cover. She says, you need to buy this book. This book changed my life. She smiles at you and she pats you on the shoulder and she walks away. Never, ever having realized that that was your book, that you were the author, that it was your love letter to her that had made that difference. want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to open your eyes. And I want you to realize it can be real. It's happened to me, and it's happened with other authors, and it could happen to you if you write your book. Okay? So what's next for you? There is a process to writing a book. It's more than just putting words on a paper, okay? Putting words on the paper is the process you have to go through, but that isn't the whole process of writing a book. You need your idea. You need to craft and outline your plan. You need to set your goals. By the way, I'm giving you a system here. You need to look at story and how you're going to be sharing your ideas in a way that is engaging to your reader so they feel that love letter. How do you craft the language to put it on the page so you are conveying your message in a way that allows them to absorb it in all the wonderfulness that you want to share with them? You do need to face procrastination, writer's block, and overwhelm. That point where your excitement has waned, but you know that you still need to share your message. That's part of the system of getting out. And then once your book is written, there is the after system called editing and publishing and launching, and it is a very real part of writing your book. Here's a hint. That's those steps that I just gave you. They're the steps. Throughout all of it, the overreaching umbrella says, how do you manage your time? How do you manage your writing flow? And how do you manage your creativity so that you can keep going in the face of our busy, full, exciting lives? That's the system. Okay? There it is. I have just given you my whole system. So what do you want to do next? Here's the absolute truth of the matter. You will follow this system whether you figure it out on your own and you do it backwards and you fight with it and you struggle, or if you do it with somebody who has done it before 19 times, who's a best-selling author. So what I want to offer to you is the opportunity for us to have a conversation about your project, about what your goals are, about where you're going, about the best way to get there. So this is a conversation to see where you're at. Are we a good fit to work together on a more intimate relationship, not just me coming at you through a screen? Okay? This is not I'm going to pick Kim's brain and let me ask her about ISBN numbers. Okay, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for where are you stuck? Where are you ready to invest in yourself, in your message? Where are you strong? Where do you have it figured out? Where are you struggling? I want to be real clear. I work with message-driven people who want to finally write their books so that they can share their message with the world. That's who I want to talk to. Is there an investment? Sweetie, you've been paying an investment. For the last 50 minutes, you've been investing into yourself and I have been pouring into you. And that's really kind of cool. So yeah, time, money, creativity, we've spoken about them. Of course, there's an investment, but your message matters and I believe in you. So if you would like to talk to me, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to newfrontierbooks.com, and then there's a get started link at the top. Okay? You're going to tell me a little bit more about your project, and then I'm going to send you a link to my calendar. Now that get started form is going to tell you that we're applying. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to mention that you were here with me today. I'll let you through. So it's newfrontierbooks.com, and then click on the Get Started link at the top. Now, here's the kicker. I have limited space in my calendar. I really, really want to talk to you, but I only have 5 spaces next week. That's it. I'm full. But I want to talk about your message. I want to talk about your book. I want to talk about your goals, your ideas, how you want to change the world, remembering that it starts with changing yourself. So I don't want you to delay. I want you to go to newfrontierbooks.com and I want you to click on the Get Started and I want you to fill that out. You're going to get clarity just filling it out, okay? And I don't want you to wait. I don't want you to think, well, I don't know if those 5 spots are going to align with my calendar. Just do it, okay? We'll figure it out. I don't have unlimited time, space, and bandwidth, but you've already invested with being here with me today, so I want to invest back in you. I always tell my clients a couple of things. Number 1, I only work with people who are passionate. I made the ill-fated mistake one time of agreeing to edit a book for somebody who was writing the should book. I should write a book, and it was really boring, and she didn't have any passion, and it was really hard to get through. I only work with people who are passionate. You're here, clearly you've got the passion, okay? And I believe in you. So go to newfrontierbooks.com and click on the Get Started, fill that out. I've got 5 spaces to talk to people. And here's the other side of it. More people will fill that out, and then for some strange reason, they won't book their appointment. So don't be thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, she's really busy and she only has these and I'll miss it. Just do it, okay? I want to thank you for being here with me today. I want you to thank you for looking at these mental monsters. And I want you to take the next step. Take it in faith. Take it powerfully. You ready? newfrontierbooks.com and then click on the Get Started link up at the top. Fill out that form and let's chat. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Kim Eldredge, and I can't wait to see your book in print.